to follow along is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 11, verses 1 through 11, the familiar story of Jesus riding into Jerusalem. It can be found on page 879 in your Pew Bible if you'd like to follow along. Let's listen to God's holy word. And when they drew near to Jerusalem, to Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will enter it, and you will find a colt tied on which no one has ever sat. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' say, 'The Lord has need of it, and will send it back here immediately.' And they went away and found a colt tied at the door out in the open street. And they untied it. And those who stood there said to them, 'What are you doing untying the colt?' And they told them what Jesus had said, and they let them go. And they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their garments on it, and he sat upon it. And many spread their garments on the road, and others spread leafy branches which they had cut from the fields. And those who went before and those who followed cried out, 'Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the kingdom of our father David that is coming. Hosanna in the highest.'" This ends our reading. May God richly bless our hearing, reading, and understanding of God's holy word. Amen. "Do you think Jesus was afraid?" the little girl in the pink jumper asked. "Do you think he was scared?" It was Sunday school, 2nd grade. 12 very enthusiastic and high-energy 7- and 8-year-olds were gathered around the table in the 2nd grade classroom, palms waving in their hands. About 10 o'clock the night before, the teacher had returned from a family event, remembered it was her turn to teach, then remembered she had left all her Sunday school stuff at the church. Now she had to come up with something on her own, something creative, something inspiring, something profound. In other words, she was going to have to wing it. It was at times like this that she wondered why she had agreed to teach Sunday school in the first place. A friend had asked her the same question. "Why do you teach Sunday school?" And she had replied, "Because the pastor asked me." "Why didn't you say no?" her friend asked. "I didn't know I could," she said. "The pastor asks you to do something, you do it." So here she was teaching 2nd grade. It was her first year, and she was decidedly mixed about it. The kids were sweet, cute, most of the time. Other times they were a little wild. One-on-one they were fine, but together in a pack, you never knew what was going to happen. They were so curious and so random. Their conversations could go any which way. One day, they were talking about heaven. And she had told them that's where Jesus went after he died. And before she knew it, they all joined in. "My grandma's in heaven, so is mine. My poppy's in heaven, mine's not. He just had a birthday. My dog died, is he in heaven? Did Jesus have a dog? Do you have a dog?" And the conversation spiraled downhill until at last they heard the last hymn in church beginning. "Okay, everybody," she said. "Time to line up, time to go to coffee hour." And that was the end of the discussion on heaven. Still, she liked teaching. Even though she felt she really wasn't equipped to do so, she didn't know nearly as much about the Bible as she thought she should. And when she explained this to the pastor, how she really didn't think she could teach because she wasn't that knowledgeable, the pastor had told her, "Oh, don't worry about that. There's no better way to learn the Bible than to teach Sunday school. You'll do just fine." So she did the best she could. answering their questions the best she was able. And when she couldn't and things started to go awry, she pulled out the chocolate. It was a great diversionary tactic, and it worked every time. So tomorrow she would wing it. It was Palm Sunday. No big deal. She would have them make palm crosses. And while they made their palm crosses, they would talk about Palm Sunday and Good Friday and Easter. She knew the story well enough, had heard it growing up in church, how Jesus told his disciples to go find a donkey, a colt that was already waiting for him, and how he climbed up on the colt and rode into Jerusalem. And when he rode into the city, all the people lined alongside the roadside to welcome him, and they waved their palms, which was something you did when royalty was going by.